Have you ever heard the famous story of David and Goliath, and wondered if that was the only time David faced a giant? In popular accounts, David's victory over Goliath often seems like a one-time event, a grand triumph of faith and courage. Yet, Scripture contains a lesser-known follow-up, the attempt by another giant from Goliath's lineage to exact revenge on David. This dramatic episode, tucked away in 2 Samuel 21, nearly cost David his life. In today's story, we'll explore how David, who started out as a humble shepherd, rose to become king of Israel and fought countless battles. Once again found himself on a collision course with a towering adversary. We'll see why these ancient giants pose such a threat. So, settle in as we journey back to ancient Israel to uncover the revenge of Goliath's brother. Long before David wore a crown, he was a shepherd tending his father Jesse's flocks in the fields near Bethlehem. A youth of strong faith, he believed God could deliver his people from any threat. When the Philistines challenged Israel, their champion, Goliath of Gath, taunted King Saul's army day after day. No Israelite warrior dared to confront the towering figure reported to be around 9 feet tall. David, sent by his father to bring provisions to his older brothers in the army, witnessed Goliath's defiance and was outraged that no one stood against him. He stepped forward, declaring, "The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine." 1 Samuel 17, verse 37. In a remarkable battle, David approached Goliath armed only with a sling and 5 smooth stones. He aimed at the giant's forehead, released a stone, and watched as Goliath collapsed to the ground. The Philistines, stunned at their champion's defeat, fled. David's moment of victory echoed far beyond that battlefield, propelling him into Saul's service and setting the stage for his eventual rise to the throne. The hidden lineage of giants. Many believe Goliath was a solitary phenomenon, a fluke of nature, gone for good once David slew him. However, biblical references paint a broader picture of entire clans of giants, often called the Rephaim, Anakim, or descendants of other ancient, larger-than-life tribes. Goliath was but one member of a group that continued to appear in various strongholds within Philistine territory. The exact origins of these giants remain a source of debate among scholars, with some tracing them to mysterious events described in Genesis 6. Whatever their beginnings, they were clearly formidable, physically imposing, feared on every battlefield, and often recruited by Israel's enemies to strengthen their armies. Over time, one might assume that the destruction of Goliath ended the giant menace. Yet, as we see in 2 Samuel 21, the threat persisted, lurking in the background until a moment of opportunity arose, targeting David at a vulnerable time. David's rise to the throne. In the aftermath of Goliath's defeat, David's renown spread throughout Israel. He became a commander in Saul's army, distinguished himself in numerous campaigns, and was beloved by the people. Yet Saul's jealousy grew, and David spent years on the run before finally assuming the throne. Through military prowess, strategic alliances, and unwavering commitment, David unified the nation. Jerusalem became his capital, and Israel enjoyed a season of consolidation under his leadership. By then, David had lived through countless ordeals, evading Saul's attempts on his life, establishing alliances with neighboring tribes, and subduing multiple Philistine attacks. Despite his remarkable successes, age and the burdens of kingship began weighing on him. Though still courageous, he could no longer fight like the spry young shepherd who had toppled Goliath. His popularity, however, continued to soar, and he remained determined to lead Israel into battle whenever duty called. Another war with the Philistines. As the years passed, the Philistines regrouped. Despite their earlier setbacks, they remained Israel's persistent foe. 2 Samuel 21 verses 15 to 17 recounts one such war. Years after Goliath's death, David, steadfast in his role, went out to fight alongside his men. Yet, in the thick of combat, fatigue caught up with him. Scripture says that David waxed faint, indicating he was exhausted, not at full strength. This is where Ishbi-benob enters the scene, a colossal warrior described as a son, or descendant, of a giant, presumably related to Goliath's lineage from Gath. with a bronze spear weighing about 13 pounds and a freshly forged sword. Ishbi-benob was no ordinary soldier. Sensing David's vulnerable state, he moved indecisively, intent on avenging Goliath and ending David's life. Onlookers might have felt alarm surge through them. David, the hero who once bested Goliath, now stood face to face with another giant. But age had tempered David's physical prowess, and the endless battles had taken their toll. Though his resolve remained firm, his body struggled to match the giant's raw power and stamina. The narrow escape. As Ishbi-benob closed in on David, the confrontation promised to be lethal. Perhaps the Philistine giant snarled that he would finish what Goliath had started, while David gripped his weapon tightly, refusing to yield despite his weariness. In that critical moment, Abishai, David's nephew and the son of Zeruiah, intervened. Realizing that the king was in imminent danger, Abishai surged forward and struck Ishbi-benob, delivering a fatal blow before the giant could kill David. The book of 2 Samuel recounts that this act of bravery saved Israel's beloved king from certain death. It was a dramatic rescue, one that left David's forces breathing a collective sigh of relief. But after this near tragedy, the men of David spoke with urgency. Recognizing how narrowly they had avoided catastrophe, they addressed their king, saying, "Thou shalt go no more out with us to battle, that thou quench not the lamp of Israel." 2 Samuel 21 verse 17. They saw David as more than just a military leader. He was the guiding light of Israel, the symbol of unity and hope for the nation. Losing him would have devastated their morale and governance. Thus, they resolved to shield the king from direct frontline combat. Further giants from Gath. You might expect Ishbi-benob's defeat to mark the end of these giant threats, but the Old Testament describes other warriors from Gath who also possess colossal stature. 2 Samuel 21 verses 18 to 22 chronicles a series of additional clashes where 1. Saph, or Sippai, another descendant of the giants, faced Sibbecai the Hushathite and was slain. 2. A warrior identified in some texts as Goliath the Gittite encountered Elhanan, the son of Jehoiakim, who killed him in battle. 3. Lastly, a fearsome fighter at Gath, described as having 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, was taken down by Jonathan, David's nephew. These confrontations underscore that Goliath was not a lone anomaly. The lineage of giants continued to trouble Israel, emerging in conflicts that tested the mettle of David's men. Though each subsequent giant shared Goliath's origins, none succeeded in replicating his notoriety, thanks to the valor of David's warriors. 2 Samuel 21 verse 22 neatly summarizes. These 4 were born to the giant in Gath, and fell by the hand of David, and by the hand of his servants. Time and again, the Philistines attempted to exploit the presence of giants for battlefield dominance, only to be met with defeat by Israel's determined fighters. David's vulnerability and legacy. The close call with Ishbi-benob stands out as a turning point in David's military involvement. Whereas he once marched confidently against Goliath, David now found his strength limited by age and the ravages of continuous warfare. It became clear that Israel's beloved ruler would need to rely more on trusted generals and family members who could safeguard him from life-threatening engagements. Despite that, David remained a central figure in uniting Israel's tribes and establishing Jerusalem as the nation's spiritual and political core. His reputation as a fearless leader, talented musician, and devout follower of God continued to define him. While the near-fatal confrontation with Ishbi-benob might have revealed David's human frailties, it did nothing to diminish his stature as a revered monarch. Moreover, the battle stories in 2 Samuel 21 highlight the loyalty and valor of David's inner circle. Soldiers like Abishai and Jonathan played crucial roles in confronting these giants. Their willingness to face these towering threats without hesitation shows that David's influence had forged a cohort of men unafraid to defend their king. The overlooked chapter of giant warfare. For many, the story of David and Goliath ends with Goliath's decapitation. Yet the historical record in 2 Samuel reveals that the sons and brothers of the giant from Gath returned to haunt Israel long afterward. Ishbi-benob's assault could have ended David's reign prematurely, changing the course of Israel's history. Indeed, It's often overlooked that David's confrontation with Goliath was not the last time he found himself face to face with a gargantuan foe. This hidden chapter carries an undeniable sense of dramatic urgency, emphasizing that the giant threat remained active beyond the day David flung that stone. Time, exhaustion, and the unpredictability of battle combined to produce a perilous moment for the aging king. Had Abishai not intervened, Israel's story might have taken a very different path. Thank you for watching and reading this account on Eternal Bible. We've journeyed beyond the familiar showdown in the Valley of Elah to discover a sequel of sorts, one where another giant, thirsting for vengeance, nearly succeeded in slaying David. While Goliath's defeat lives on in memory as one of the most significant underdog victories, the giant threat was far from finished. Ishbi-benob, Saph, and others all emerged to challenge Israel anew. Still, David survived to continue leading his people, aided by loyal warriors like Abishai. The oath to protect Israel's lamp ensured David would not again be exposed to the deadly reach of colossal adversaries in direct combat. Even so, the final outcome remained consistent. One by one, the Philistine giants fell. Their repeated appearances reinforced that biblical history is filled with twists, turns, and unexpected dangers, sometimes re-emerging long after a supposed final triumph. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Eternal Bible for more captivating explorations of biblical events. There's always more to uncover when we dig deeper into the scriptures. May the accounts of ancient battles and the resilient spirit of Israel's king inspire you to appreciate the depth and breadth of these timeless narratives.